Welcome to the Scoop World Order. Happy Tuesday. Ryan Day, Chip Kelly, and Will Howard met with the media today. Donnie Jackson is back. The boys are back. It is go time now. They have a nice stretch here leading into the Oregon game. Marshall Thundering Herd on Saturday noon game. We'll be ready to rock. Bring you the coverage all week. Post-game show. To be determined, but we'll get into that a little bit later. But there's some really smoldering hot mess going on at Michigan that Nevadabuck is going to break down. Got some new breaking stuff. I mean, it is every day. The Reigns of Castamere from Game of Thrones is playing. It's about to be the Red Wedding up there, and I am here for it, and I cannot wait for it. With that being said, if you guys enjoy this content, as always, we appreciate your support. Please leave us a like, click subscribe, also click that little alert bell. If you guys feel especially like being the greatest Buckeyes in the history of mankind, then give us a follow on Apple Podcasts. Search Buckeye Scoop on your Apple Podcasts, on your Spotify. Leave us a 5-star review and subscribe to our channel. That dramatically helps us. It moves us up the rankings, moves us up the algorithm. So thank you for that. Again, a lot of you guys are doing that. We see you guys doing that. We appreciate you guys doing that. So thank you for that. This is a huge show because you guys make it one each and every night. The Scoop family is a monster at this point, and we're just so proud of everything that you guys do, everything that we are in this crew. It is fantastic. People try to replicate it. They're not even close. We are number one because of you guys. So thank you guys, and we're going to keep it that way forever and ever and ever. With that being said, going to bring in my good friend, Nevadabuck. Nevada, talking to our boy, Justin Spiro, a little bit, who is quickly becoming, pretty quick sure he's going to be your new best friend. I'm going to be replaced pretty quick here because he is awesome. He's killing the game. You also had a lot of stuff this morning that we talked about. Where would you like to start?
Well, what I'll say is, sometimes things are right out there in public, right out there, right in front of you. And, I had a really good source. One of my good Michigan sources point out to me, they're like, have you really gone through the NCAA decision on Cheeseburger Gate and really spent some time going on? I'm like, well, no, I probably haven't spent as much time going through it as I might. And he's like, there's a lot of good stuff in there where the NCAA was kind of foreshadowing what they're intending to do in NOA in case number 2. And I'm like, really? And he goes, yeah. He goes, let me point your attention to a couple of things. So I posted a couple of things today, and Justin Spear did a great job, picking up on that, and he was talking about how I'm going to quote a few things to you from these are quotes from the NCAA's decision. So this isn't like Kirk and Nevada speak or something like that. This is from the NCAA's decision on Cheeseburger Gate. In failing to adhere to the rules himself, Harbaugh signaled to his staff that compliance was not a priority. So they used the term signal. And then it goes on to say, Harbaugh's knowing and direct involvement in violations demonstrates he did not promote an atmosphere of compliance. When a head coach is comfortable breaking clear and well-known rules, it is difficult to expect staff to behave differently. In failing to adhere to the rules himself, Harbaugh signaled to staff that compliance was not a priority. I mean, when you read that from the decision, it's hard to come up with any conclusion other than, they're using the word signal. They're talking about the culture.
I'm going to get Nevada back in here. But yeah, when you hear that, that's pretty damning stuff. It is something that is shocking to say the least. Again, the way that they've been thumbing their nose at the NCAA has been something that's been shocking to say the least. I think that the way that these guys are they've been so poorly advised, because again, these guys all have attorneys, all have lawyers. There's been a lot of thumbing of the nose, at the NCAA. There's been a lot of posturing, which has been interesting because again, I've said 1,000 times, when you're this cooked, all you can do is beg for mercy. You can't defend it. You can't try to do something where you're getting cute. I don't understand their strategy. Like, to me, I'd be, hey guys, like, we're done here. So, I mean, we might as well just come correct, and get rolling because like they've got so much electronic data. They've got so many people that are flipping and telling the investigators what's going on. there's so many things that are happening here that you're not going to be able to defend it. Like if someone, if a crowd of people all watch you murder somebody and they all come forth and give the same exact story, and they find the gun and there's DNA all over it, and and there's video cameras of you shooting the gun, like eventually it's like, you're kind of out of options at that point. That's kind of where Michigan is, and that's why I thought it's been very interesting as these guys have been going through this whole situation where, like they're, they've been advised, I think, to be quiet and keep their heads down. But then you've got Jim Harbaugh, who's out there thumbing his nose at the NCAA. He's lying again. He's malicious at this point. That's what I keep telling people. I'm like, I can't believe a guy who is an avowed Michigan man is out there and he's saying, hey guys, the NCAA has no jurisdiction here, and they took money from the kids and whatever, and I've never lied, I've never cheated, I've never stolen. But again, I think that some people are so delusional that they can just get all the way back to, they like live in Neverland. And I think that's where Jim Harbaugh lives right now, where he literally is, he's just in his own little world where, he thinks that if he says stuff loud enough and boldly enough that it'll somehow erase the truth that he cheated and he was in on it. Because again, I've said it a billion times and I've lived it firsthand. I'm not a journalist. I'm not one of these guys who's just, I've lived on the sidelines. I've been on the sidelines. I've been in the booth. I've been in the football building. I've lived that. None of those other guys that report on this or attempt to report on this have done that. So I know how things work. I know how, a highly paid egomaniac of a head coach. And again, Urban, I don't say that in a bad way, but Urban's got a humongous ego, which is fine. I love Urban Meyer to death. I think he's great. But when you're the head duck, you're allowed to have a certain ego, and when you've got 3 rings, you're allowed to have a certain ego. And he ran the program the way he wanted to. And again, Jim Harbaugh is the same exact guy. He's the same person. Like they're both different cats. They're all football all the time, ultra intense, and they want to win. And there's no way that some intern's gonna be able to run around and talk to the coordinators during a game and them not know what's going on. I've said that 1,000 times. So when Jim Harbaugh tries to play just complete moron all the time, it's beyond amusing to guys like me that are in the know. Nevada, finish your thought. You're back now. Go ahead.
Where did dude? I was in the middle of an awesome monologue.
All time.
I was riffing. I was going crazy, and I'm like,
I know, and you sounded like a mouse because your volume got really low all of a sudden. So I was like, oh no. God. So you're like, yeah, and I was really getting after Michigan, and they've got, no. and I was like, oh God, he doesn't even know that he's talking quite. So when I try to give you the boot, I hope that you come right back in, but you probably kept talking for 7 minutes, and you're like, oh man, none of that's on video. I got to remember where I was at.
I was screaming at one point. At one point, I was screaming, sweating.
You're
I was
sweating.
Exactly. Oh no, this was one of the all-time great rants, and we just lost it to history, man.
Did you say?
I'm not sure.
If the glove doesn't fit, they must have quit.
They must. Oh, I was screaming. I was going nuts. No, look, go read the NCAA's report. We posted a link of it on our Twitter. So much good stuff in there regarding what the NCAA intends to do, and I've got it from a really good source that this tracks really well to NOA number 2. And one thing that I would also encourage people to do, because we're sourced up on this. So when we say stuff, we're not like, oh, trust Nevada or trust Kirk or whatever. We've told you about this stuff. We've directed you where it is, and everything we've said to you on this has come true. Everything has come to pass. So I will direct you again to the dashboard, the NCAA dashboard. On the NCAA dashboard, it lays out, the kind of the status of where these, investigative phase, response phase, penalty phase, whatever it is. And you look at it, and they've got this entire dashboard of all these cases. And I believe there might be one other school that had like a short thing where they challenged the NCAA. But the path for 99% of these cases is take the case, the actions are suggested, they negotiate a settlement, and then it's done. And Michigan is the only one that they haven't been able to reach a combination with. And on Cheeseburger Gate, their recommendation on Cheeseburger Gate and everything was a 3-game suspension for Jim Harbaugh. 3 games. And the NCAA came back and said, no, that's not sufficient. And Jim Harbaugh ended up with a year suspension on Cheeseburger Gate. So Michigan was offering 3 months or 3 games rather. They gave him a year. So that shows you the order of magnitude of how big the disconnect was between the NCAA and Michigan on this. Well, now we're into NOA number 2. Similar path, similar situation. It's going all the way. Michigan's not accepting to the NCAA thing. It's going to go the full Monty. The problem is Michigan is there's no other court. There's not like a third court. There used to be in the NCAA like a infractions appeal group or whatever it was, and some of the schools were able to appeal to this, and they were able to get off on some relatively light punishment. Well, the NCAA did away with that. They did away with that. They felt that it was really kind of minimizing the work of their investigative group. And so now, like when you're thumbing your nose at the NCAA, they're the ones that are going to be judging you ultimately. While it's a different group, it's still under the NCAA banner. So the disconnect between on the first one was an order of magnitude of about 400%, 3 games to a year. Maybe that's 500%, whatever, some big deal. That's how big the disconnect is now on the second one, and we're going down a very, very similar route. That's why I am sticking with my thing of multiple year bowl ban or postseason ban, not bowl ban, postseason ban, vacation of 21, 22, 23, show causes, fines, recruiting restrictions, probation, other parting gifts along the way. And Michigan's just they're trapped. They don't have anywhere to go on this right now. And I'm telling you, go back and read NOA number 1. It foreshadows what's going to happen in NOA number 2. They're not while they're separate cases, they're not completely disconnected. There's certainly some breadcrumbs in there and some Easter eggs in there that I think are going to be relevant as we move forward.
Yeah, I think that again, I don't know what else it's going to take. If these guys get smashed by SC, like, how do you think that impacts how the board of regents? Because the athletic director is clueless. But I'm telling you, if I ran this board, if SC lays a smackdown, I'm like, guys, like, let's just take the bowl ban this year because we don't need to go to the Cactus Bowl or Tax Slayer Gator Bowl or whatever, because that's where this team's heading to. They're circling the toilet. They've got the worst quarterback situation maybe in the Big Ten outside of Purdue. And it's like, they're just it's just really bad. I mean, it's one of those deals where I think that they, I would self-impose. They're not going anywhere. I would have never let Sharon sign that deal. I would have fire hosed him out of here. He can go be the O-line coach for the Montreal Alouettes or whatever. Because again, I think that when you watch their line now, it's pretty evident that Jim Harbaugh was the guy driving the bus and made the offensive line good because they don't block anybody at this point. I mean, they were struggling like crazy versus Arkansas State, and I think SC's going to give them a little bit of a show this week. And I don't know. I think that they're so poorly designed and ran at this point that you might as well just start from scratch. And I'd start looking for the next head coach. Honestly, I'd start looking for the guy who's going to run the show, and get everybody out of there. Like I said, I think that they had to, it was funny. They're handing out these 3-year contracts to guys like Wink Martindale. Wink Martindale didn't have a job. It's not like they went and poached him from somewhere. Like, he literally quit the Giants and he was a disaster there. And then he, he's going to Michigan, 3 years, $3 million a year, which is insane for a guy that was completely out of work and wasn't very good last year. A lot of bluster. He likes to wear his old cutoff shirts. And when I was with him in Denver, he used to wear Stone Cold Steve Austin shirts in the facility, and I just think he's a total douchebag. So he fits perfect at Michigan. Then you have Tony Alford, who might be the worst running backs coach in the history of the United States of America, the guy that started a bunch of guys that never were NFL guys over Trey Henderson, Trey Sermon, clear upgrades. So again, his talent evaluation is about as bad as it gets. So you got those guys up there. Aaron Dunston goes up there, stabs Ryan Day right in the back, which is hilarious to me. And they deserve it. They deserve a bowl ban. They deserve to get smoked. Couldn't happen to worse human beings. So I'm really excited to see what will happen with these guys. Because again, they went up there. They knew what was going on. And again, like Tony, like he knows what these guys were doing. And he's like, well, I'm going to go join that. That sounds great. I can't wait. Because again, when you sell your soul to the devil like he did, then you're going to end up going there. You're going to get your money. But then you're going to get smashed by the NCAA and you're going to be in purgatory pretty quick here. So again, Michigan and Jim Harbaugh and their coaches and their players sold their souls to the devil. to go get a national championship, which is going to get taken from them. And it's going to be absolutely fantastic when everything comes home to roost. Because then we've been saying, I'm like, guys, like, if they're going to give him a year for Cheeseburger Gate, what are they going to give when they've got this massive cheating scandal where these guys they've got stringers going to the games, taking the film, breaking it down. You've got Connor standing next to your coordinators. You have both coordinators down on the field so that he can be right there reading the signs, saying what's happening, calling the plays off of them. It's the biggest strategic advantage in the history of football. And people that don't think it is, they're liars, they're morons. And again, go listen to, I always go back to, like, don't trust me. Don't trust, because I'm not some just old Ohio State guy. Maybe he doesn't know what he's talking about. Go listen to what Greg Schiano said about it. Go listen to what James Franklin said about it. Go listen to what Ryan Day, James Laurinaitis. When they interviewed James Laurinaitis, he says he had to change the signals every week, and we knew why we had to do it and how big of a pain in the butt it is. Like, guess what? Like, listen to the coaches. Don't just listen to me. Because again, you guys say, oh, Kirk's got a bone to pick, and Kirk's always hated Michigan, so of course he's going to be slanted like that. No, like, listen to every coach in the country that lost to those guys. And the guys that were in close games, like Brett Bielema had those guys on the ropes 2 years ago. Schiano had him on the ropes, and then James Franklin, in Happy Valley. Like, those guys know what was going on. And again, even when Connor was gone, are you telling me that he's the only guy that knew how to pick signals in that building? Come on. I've been a GA, I've been a QC. If there's one guy who magically, if one guy becomes the apple of Jim Harbaugh's eye, and he's some 26-year-old intern, and all those other interns are sitting in the same room, they're saying, hey, can you teach me how to do that? What do you think's going to happen? Of course, dude. You're going to be my offensive coordinator. Again, this is the guy who had like a full manifesto of who his coaching staff would be when he's the head coach at the University of Michigan. Like, this he's Ted Kaczynski with a football pullover on, So, I mean, this guy was a wackadoo. I'm sure he was teaching these guys, saying, hey, guys, because again, if I could teach people how to do this, which it really isn't that hard to do once you know how to do it, and you can teach people easily, it makes your job a million times easier if you got 4 or 5 guys helping crack the code instead of just you. And it takes the pressure off you as well, because then you got more guys all working this little consortium. So again, when he was gone, I'm not convinced that the whole thing it did just evaporate when one guy left. As much as people want to act like it did, because again, we saw that sideline. We saw the photo of the office that he was in. Denard Robinson was in that office. Guess what? He's on the sideline pointing up and doing the whole shebang. He was sitting right next. His desk was right next to Connor's. You're telling me he didn't know? I mean, he was a nobody in the coaching profession. Obviously he was the guy that was on the cover of the video game, was in the NFL for a few years. Nobody in the coaching profession, trying to gain status in the profession. So he's trying to get a full-time job. So what's he going to do? He's going to do anything it takes, just like Connor was. So again, I just, I've been right about all this, and I guarantee you I'm right about that, because I've been in those rooms. Like, if some intern is doing something and Jim Harbaugh is in love with him and gives him a game ball, then guess what? All those other interns are going to do the same thing, because they want to get, they want to be the apple of the head coach's eye. Like, again, I've seen it too many times. Nevada, your thoughts on that, and we can dig into a little bit of the football, the little Ohio State stuff from today.
Yeah, no, and again, who knew and stuff. To me, it's probably the least. It's interesting, but it's probably the least relevant in terms of the NCAA, because the NCAA's eyes, these are institutional penalties. These are penalties that accrue to everyone, because it doesn't matter who knew. When one person does it, it goes all the way up through the organization. And, of course they all knew. Like, it's an insult to anyone's intelligence that they would try to do it. But you have to remember, these are the same people who his defense is, I was able to pick the signs off of television. I was able to pick signs off of watching television. And Nevadabuck will offer this. I will offer $1 million. There's $1 million. The Nevadabuck's public pledge, $1 million. If you can pick signals off of the television broadcast, the television broadcast, and you can pick signals and you can pick plays with good relative certainty, Nevadabuck will pay you $1 million. So if you go out there, everybody get your little DVRs and set the little TV things and watch all this stuff and tell me from watching this stuff how you did it. And then you got to demonstrate how you did it from the television broadcast, how you're able to pick signals off of this stuff, because it's not possible. But that was his defense. I mean, that was literally the heart of his of this whole documentary, was that he was just the savant that walked on the field one day during the Navy game and was like, I immediately knew what their signals were. And so I started shouting them out, and Navy started making signals. They put me on their shoulders and, well, Connor, you're the best. You're the signal man. The whole thing is preposterous. We all know how it happened. He's no Rain Man. This is a guy he's so smart, he's so intelligent, but he can't remember if he was in disguise at the Central Michigan game doing that. Like, come on, guy. Like, it's hard to have it both ways there, but no, it's this whole thing has just been such a like a case study in terms of this is a rogue institution that is, kind of thumbing their nose at authority, and now they've been doing that down for, ever since Cheeseburger Gate started on there for 2 years, 2.5 years, and now the reality's kind of setting in, and it's just so fun to watch them all. They're starting to turtle now. They're starting to shut up. They're not quite so arrogant anymore, and they are desperately trying to settle this with the NCAA. Desperately. Their lawyers are working full-time, overtime, trying to adjudicate this with the NCAA. Trust me on that. That one is with 100% certain. I'm not sure if they'll have any success because the NCAA is not of a mind to negotiate with them or to give anything, because they have nothing to offer anymore. Harbaugh's head's on a platter. Sharon Moore's a dead man walking. And frankly, as I said last night, I hope Sharon Moore coaches at Michigan for 100 years. I hope that they name the stadium after him and put him out there and put him on like a plaque and let him coach via AI after he's dead, because that guy is so stupid and so worthless. And he is completely over his skis. I've been in this game for a long time. You can tell when there's a guy that's just overwhelmed. He is overwhelmed. He is that guy. He is a guy. He has no idea what's going on out there. I think they're in for a bad time against USC. Could Orgy rise up and do something and they manage to win a game? Yeah, look, it's football. Anything's possible, but I don't think so. I think I agree with you. I think they're going to get slammed again this week, and then, you've already seen how much luster has come off that program since Texas violated those guys. I mean, like, before they were walking tall and we're the national champion, this and that, and they just go up there and get just embarrassed. And then they're like, well, they'll rise up and they'll battle against Arkansas State and they'll show them what really Michigan football. And then they embarrass themselves again. So we think that they're going to get magically better. And against a USC team coming up with a bye week coming into Ann Arbor, I think they're in deep trouble. And they can't stop the pass. That vaunted defense cannot stop the pass. And let me tell you what, USC can throw the football. And I think it's going to be. I think they're in for a long afternoon on Saturday.
Yeah, and SC's got a good front. I mean, Bear Alexander, they paid a lot of money for him last year, and they got rid of Alex Grinch, which again, he was one of the worst hires of the Urban Meyer era. And again, I don't know how a guy like that then goes to like Oklahoma as a DC, then he goes to SC as a DC, and I mean, as bad as I've ever seen in terms of just. It was just like it was like the Phoenix Suns playing the Golden State Warriors every single time he stepped on the floor. It was just like 165 to 155 in an NBA game. That's what it was like with Alex Rich. And then they change it. D'Anton Lynn's there, and those guys are schemed up. They are balling. They're playing hard. Because again, SC should be a top 5 program, like at all times. Like there's no reason. Like SC is one of the most glamorous schools in the history of college football. Nevada, obviously, you lived in Los Angeles for a long time. I mean, SC is about as glamorous as it gets. And again, that's why, I love Yoder, but when he said, well, Michigan's too big to fail, I was like, that is the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my entire life. And again, I love Yoder, but and I've said dumb things in my life. I don't know if I've ever seen anything dumber than that. Because again, if Michigan sucks, guess what? SC's going to take their spot. Oregon's going to take their spot. Texas. Again, you look at the cyclical nature of college football. The only school in the entire country in the last 25 years that has dodged the cycle is Ohio State. They had one bad year, 2011, when they bulleted our coach and they bulleted our Heisman finalist, the guy that would have won the Heisman, Terrell Pryor. They bullet Jim Tressel. We go 6-7. That's the only down year. And it was because we had a cataclysmic incident where we lost our head coach in the middle of the summer and we lost Terrell Pryor in the middle of the summer. So, of course, like no school is going to survive that. Outside of that, we've been recession-proof. Like you look at, the Florida Gators. The Florida Gators, since Steve Spurrier has left, they have completely sucked outside of the Urban Meyer era where they were the most dominant team in college football. Alabama, when I played, completely sucked. Dominant under Saban. They're really good right now. We'll see if they can keep it up. SC, dominant under Pete Carroll. Sucked ever since he left. Now they're back to rounding into form under Lincoln Riley. Oklahoma has been all over the map. Michigan, for the last 20 years, for the most part, they've sucked. Lloyd was good up till the end. 07, his last game, which was I love that my senior year was Lloyd's last year when we get to send him out with a big fat L in the big house. But then they go Rich Rod, they go Brady Hoke, Jim Harbaugh's a disaster until they start the Connor Steins cheating. And now they're starting strong. So they've sucked for basically 20 years now. So again, that's the thing about college football is everyone is replaceable. Even if Ohio State, for some reason, cycled down, they'd put someone else up there. Texas has been bad. I mean, since they won the national title in 05, they haven't been relevant. They went to that one title when they lost to Alabama when they had Colt McCoy and he got hurt. But other than that, they've been largely, I guess, whatever. They had Tom Herman and they had, Urban's boy, God, why am I blanking on his Charlie Strong?
Charlie Strong, right?
Yeah, they had those guys. I mean, they both got fired pretty quick, and Sark's got them kind of cooking in the right direction. So, again, I don't think that has anything to do with anything, but I think that the NCAA, the way that Michigan has acted, it's been insane. It's been so poorly handled. And again, I just keep saying, do they not have any intelligent people in that entire system, in that entire program? Anyone on the board of trustees? Because again, at some point, you have to say, look, nobody is bigger than the Block M. It's like Ohio State. Ohio State is like a giant steamroller. There's nobody that's bigger than the Block O. It doesn't matter if you're Woody Hayes, Urban Meyer, Jim Tressel, Ryan Day. Again, I say Ryan Day is going to get fired one day. It's not because I don't like Ryan Day. I think Ryan Day does a really good job. But every single coach since he's been there has been fired. So it's you want to talk about a prophecy. It's they fired Woody Hayes, Urban Meyer, Jim Tressel, John Cooper, Earl Bruce. So it's basically kind of written in stone. Now maybe Ryan will break the trend, but when they can fire guys that they've built statues of in front of the football building, then they could fire you too. But I want Ryan to stay for a long time because again, I am the king of loving offensive coaches because if you don't have an offensive coach, man, it is painful. It's really painful to watch football, especially a guy that's a quarterback developer. That's why I said my biggest fear with Ryan was losing him to the league because I look around. And I look at some of Nevadabuck's heroes, like Nick Sirianni and some of these guys that are coaching. And I look at the guy from Carolina.
Hold on. Before I get on the Nick Sirianni rant, before you disconnect me on my Nick Sirianni rant, do you really believe? And this the question was we never talked about this. I'm going to tell you. I'll bury the lead. I don't consider that Urban Meyer got fired. I believe that Urban Meyer, because Urban Meyer didn't get fired. He retired, quit, whatever you want to call it, left on his own terms. And if he wasn't operating under a president, if Ted Carter was a president when Urban Meyer was here, do you think Urban Meyer would have resigned?
Hell no. Are you crazy? Urban would still be here easily.
He'd
probably have 5 national titles by now.
I know. So it's so he's the one guy that's been able to dodge it, but he was he historically gets 7-0 against Michigan, which is freaking crazy. And but you're right. Everybody else got taken out. But by Nick Sirianni, that I got to be honest. I hate the new breed of coaches. I do. I like. There's one aspect of them that I like. I like the fact that they're more aggressive in terms of using all 4 downs to get 10 yards, which I thought has been one of the big mistakes in thinking in football. And I've been saying this for 20 years, and you know that, Kirk. I've been saying this for a really long time, and people thought I was kind of crazy, but I'm like, guys, use all 4 downs to get 10 yards, and it changes completely how you call the game, how you approach the game, when you punt, when you don't punt. The analytics completely support being way more aggressive, and people are just coming around and thinking it. I think the younger coaches are seeing that. But this trait of trying to outthink everybody and show that you're the smartest guy in the room, and nobody represents that better than Nick Sirianni, who's the head coach for the Eagles, throwing the ball when the other team's out of timeouts, which enables the clock to stop. and the other team to have now enough time to go the length of the field and defeat you in a game last night, that was absolutely. I have no words, but I do hate these new young coaches, these guys that. It seemed like it's almost like they I don't know how they got the job. It's like the owner must have fallen in love with them or whatever it is, and that seems like a lot of ways that these guys get these jobs in Major League Sports. Is the owner takes a liking to them, they go in there, they get the job, and they do stuff that's just absolutely inexplicable. But Sirianni personally cost them the game last night by being stupid, and if I was a fan of the Eagles, I would have lost my mind. I would if I was the owner, I would have fired the guy on the spot. I don't think you can allow stuff like that to happen because that's just so dumb.
Well, you get a lot of these young offensive coaches, and they just love to smell their own farts. That's really what it comes down to. Like Kyle Shanahan, I've never seen anything like Kyle Shanahan in my life. Like he had when he was the offensive coordinator. You know, remember the big Tom Brady was like 21-3 or 24-3 or
28-3.
It was 28-3, the Atlanta comeback. So that never happens if it's not for Kyle Shanahan just being the dumbest human being in the history of football. Kyle Shanahan, I'll never forget this. He's in field goal range. He's got Matt Bryant, who's got a cannon for like he hit 50 yards all year, and they're in field goal range. And go check like the drive. It was literally the very end of the game. I don't know if there's 2 minutes left or whatever it is. And they can ice the game with a field goal. Like, I mean, it puts it out of reach. I think, it obviously doesn't give New England the chance to come back and win the game. And it's third down. If they run the ball, New England they either can't stop the clock or they got to burn their last time. I think they couldn't stop the clock. So it would have shaved like 40 seconds off the clock, just like last night. Instead, they drop back, they throw the ball, and Jake Matthews gets a holding call. And I'm just like, and it moves them out of field goal range. And so then they got a punt or whatever. And I'm just like, so now instead of icing the game over with a field goal or whatever it was something where if they just run the ball, even if you take a knee, it doesn't matter. Just run the ball, take it, whatever. Then Tom Brady never has a chance to come back. The Falcons win the Super Bowl. The course of history is different. Instead, Kyle Shanahan, who, Mr. Guru, has to drop back pass, get a holding call, and they back him out of field goal range. So I'm just like, if you just don't play like a complete idiot, you win. But these guys have to, we got to go for the kill, and we're going to ice the game. I'm like, dude, just like, don't give Tom Brady another 40 seconds. Just like last night. Like Kirk Cousins has made, like $350 million in his NFL career. He's had more guaranteed contracts than anybody in the history of the game. And literally, like, you give him an extra 40 seconds. So he marches down there. And again, 40 seconds doesn't seem like a lot of time when you're sitting here, listening to us talk or, you're eating lunch or whatever. But like 40 seconds in a football game is like an eternity when you're running a 2-minute drill. I mean, you don't have to rush as much. You got plenty of time. You can get the ball. You don't have to spike it. So it basically gives you an extra down. And instead, they're just like, nah, we're going to little dink it out there. And, and again, Saquon's got to catch it. But still, that's the risk you run, is that, again, something could happen. Someone could get hit. The ball could get tipped. There's a million things that could go wrong, even on a little pass the flats, and it happened. And Kirk Cousins marched down there and represented for all the great Kirks of the world and scored a touchdown. And I was like, wow, what a total buffoon. All right, Nevada. Donnie Jackson is back this week. That is great. The team is back at it. Nice bloody Tuesday practice today. Any thoughts on anything that was said between Ryan Day, Chip Kelly, Will Howard? Again, if you want to get dumber, listen to these press conferences, because I love when people ask Ryan Day questions, because no matter what, he's going to say the same thing. If they say, how does the wide receivers help Will Howard, with the way they run routes and the way they and Ryan will come back and say, well, the thing about Will Howard is that the blocking and the protection helps him, and the running backs help him, and so it's like he loves to just add stuff that doesn't mean anything to a question. And that's the best part of it all. It's like, hey, what other wide receivers are doing good? Well, the wide receivers are doing good because the O-linemen are blocking and the running backs are running hard and the defense is playing good and the kicking game's good. And I was like, great. That is amazing way to just like kind of spit up a big bowl of nothing on these answers. But they are absolutely amazing at it. And Chip Kelly's great too, because Chip Kelly, nobody hates the media more than Chip Kelly, because the way he talks to these guys, he's just like, you guys have no idea what you're talking about, but I'm going to stand up here because I have to, and I'm going to smile, and I'm going to make you guys laugh. And I'm going to say, yeah, but he did have some good ones. Like, he had some thing about, I need those guys to be lactose intolerant so they don't eat the cheese. He's talking about like RPOs and read options and that kind of stuff. And he's like, they can't eat the cheese, and eventually they got to come eat the cheese. And AKA, you have to like run the quarterback sometimes on a read option, or eventually they're not going to believe that it's not a read option anymore. Which again, I only said that for 3 straight years when we would run our stupid running game with CJ Stroud and we would never pull the ball. So the quarterback would carry out on a fake, and I was like, well, the D end is never going to honor that since we never, ever pull it. So eventually they're just like, screw it. I mean, they're never going to pull the ball, so it's going to kill the back every time, which they did. So, but did you notice anything from any of that? Because it was pretty interesting, Nevada.
Well, I heard a term that I was not familiar with, and maybe you being the great football mind, the co-recipient of a tree in the Grove. Can you explain to me? I've never heard the term 14 personnel. I've heard other personnels of 10 or 11 or 12, but they talked about 14 personnel, which I assume is one running back and 4 tight ends. We've talked about the 4 tight end look, but I've never heard of 14 personnel. Have you ever heard that before?
No, because nobody runs 14 personnel. Because again, like it never existed, because there was a time where teams would run 3 tight ends. But a lot of times you'd have a fullback in the game. But I mean, I don't think in the history of Ohio State football we've ever ran 4 tight ends. Maybe we did at some point. I've never. I certainly, when I played, I certainly don't remember us ever running a 4 tight end set. Not with 4 real tight ends. Now we had that one formation where we put Ted Ginn in the game, but when I played back in the day, we had a fullback. So I mean, that would soak up one of the spots. So you'd have like 22 personnel, which is like 2 tight ends, 2 running backs, because the fullback counts as running back. But, we talked about, and again, if you guys don't remember the BuckeyeScoop.com, I don't know what you're doing at this point. Because again, we talked about Chip is going to run some crazy stuff, put it on film, and make, these morons at Marshall, or they got to go down there and they got to practice today, and they got to go get 4 tight ends in the game just in case Ohio State runs a 4 tight end set again. I was like, Chip is going to run this stupid, all these dumb formations, because again, he loves to troll and he loves to do stuff like that. He's like, hey, let's run this 4 tight end thing so that now going forward, everybody has to get ready for that and run that in practice and get it organized with the scout team. So, hey guys, Ohio State could show up with a 4 tight end set. Well, let's make sure that our guys know how to line up to it. Because again, like the Marshall guys, again, I played against Marshall. They're not exactly going to the Ivy League when they go to grad school. So let's try to get these guys to line up versus a 4 tight end set. And so those guys are going to get out there and see like, 2 wings, double tights, 2 wings to the side, motion the 1 wing over, bring the ball back this way. And it's just like, like you're probably not going to see it again for the rest of the season. And again, I think it's hilarious because that's how big of a troll Chip is. It's like everyone in the universe that studies Ohio State football knows that our tight end room is by far the weakest position group we have. So what's Chip Kelly do to troll everybody? He puts 4 of them on the field at once, which is like, why would you take J.J. Smith out of the game and Brandon Innocent and Mecca and Carnell Tate to bring out our 4th string tight end? But hey, Chip's Chip. And again, I love Chip because I swear to God, he just lives to troll people. Like he does. And he's an excellent football mind, but he's like, man, I can't wait to put this on tape on a Saturday. And then people have to watch this and say, oh my God, look at this stupid formation they're in. But it worked. We scored a touchdown out of it because, we were playing the Sisters of the Poor. But I'm just saying, I don't know how much we're going to see 14, but hey, we're here for it. What are your thoughts, Nevada?
Yeah, no, it's, he's definitely, he does like to troll, and he does like to do a lot of different things. I mean, the stuff they practice with the 2 backs and the 3 backs and the full house, the full house, full T formation. And I mean, some of the stuff's a tribute to Woody Hayes. The 4 tight ends, I'm not sure what that's a tribute to, but because I've never seen it before. But he seems to fall in love with that as well. But no, they're doing a lot of different things. And, for Ohio State right now, it's just it's a battle with ourselves. It's a battle fighting complacency. It's a battle that we're trying to get better each week, despite the fact that this team is historically good on both sides of the ball. Everybody's telling them they're good. and we're not really going to have like a huge matchup this week. There's virtually no way that Marshall's going to have a chance to win the game. It's just a question of whether or not we're going to cover that 40-point spread. But we've been lucky so far. We've played good. We've been sharp. We're getting better. Our practices have been good, and let me tell you, I'll speak it out of existence. We've been able to avoid the injury bug. I mean, look what happened to Notre Dame. I mean, Notre Dame lost what? They lose 2/5 of two of their starters and another starter, so they lost like 60% of their offensive line for the year. And I mean, we're so lucky. We're getting Donnie back. We're at full strength. We've avoided the injury bug. We've gotten better each week, and I expect us to take another step this week. Now, invariably in a season like this, we're going to have one of those games because that's what happens. You have one of those games that you're flat. After the game, we'll go, I don't know why it happened, but sometimes it happens. Do I think it's going to happen this week? I don't think so. I don't think coming off the bye. We may be a little wonky, but we're just so talented. I think we're going to be okay. I think we're going to continue to roll, but it's not, nothing stays on this straight line up from left to right, and you just never have a interruption on that. I've never seen that in my history watching college football, but I don't think it's going to happen this week. I think we're going to take another step this week, and hopefully we stay clean, stay healthy, and just get better.
Yeah, and there's so much luck in college football. Obviously, again, that's not anyone that's studied Ohio State, and we've had years where we've had some pretty brutal injuries. Again, I lived like the Florida game. We lose Ted Ginn on the first play of the game, so I was like, this might not be our night tonight if our best player breaks his leg on the first play of the game. But like sometimes you can overcome it, like with the Braxton thing and JT and Cardell being ready to go and kind of running through that whole thing. But sometimes, like Notre Dame has just been, they've lost 3 starting offensive linemen already through like 4 weeks of the season, so I mean, this is, that's very difficult to overcome. But it's funny because, the offensive line in the portal era, the offensive line will never really have depth. I mean, there's always going to be teams coming after our backups trying to poach them. But we are bizarrely deep on the O-line this year. I mean, again, you look at the guys that we've had start the first few games, and again, you guys can say whatever you want. You can say Max schools and whatever, but, Tigra has looked good. Austin Seyerveld is going to be demoted to a backup. Not really demoted, but I mean, Donnie's a returning preseason All-American, so obviously he's going to take his spot back at left guard. But, Austin's good enough to rotate it at right guard and push Tigra. And then you've got Carson, who's on the bench, who was a 12-game starter last year, which, again, is bizarre. I mean, there's not many teams in the entire country that would bench a 12-game starter, and he's not even really a thought right now in terms of rotation or whatever, because you went out and got Seth McLaughlin, who's been fantastic so far. And then you have Luke Montgomery. Like, Luke Montgomery was the guy who last year was the Bison. He was the number 6 offensive lineman. He was in the game basically every single week as a 6 tight end. He was wearing some weird, he'd wear like number 96 or 92 or some weird number, 98. So he was an eligible receiver, even though they never threw him the ball. But he was basically like a blocking tight end, and he played a lot last year for a true freshman, and he's kind of completely out of the mix at this point, outside of the mop-up time. But those guys, when they got in, late in the game, they all played well, and there's a chance they could get in this week versus Marshall late. But again, I love the depth that we have on the lines because, again, we've got a 17-game season potentially, 16, 17 games, so you're going to need guys. Like, guys, knock on wood, I pray to God, because people could say whatever they want about Mickey Marotti, but our offensive line, in large part, again, knock on wood, I'm going to do it again, has largely been devoid of injury because of how Mickey trains those guys. And I know there's people that are morons that say, oh, well, Jackson Smith and Jig, but I'm talking about our big guys. Like, we haven't lost a lot of games to injury since Mick's been there, really since 12. It's been a long time. And I mean, 2012, we had all 5 guys start all 12 games that season. And there's been a lot of instances of that. So, knock on wood, hopefully we can keep that going the rest of the way. Nevada, we get into some super chats. Any other comments before we dig into some questions?
Yeah, no, it is crazy how we came into the season with the offensive line, really being kind of a question mark, and right now it's I mean, and we haven't even seen it with Donnie Jackson operating yet, and people can say, oh, it's Akron, it's Western Michigan. But I mean, what Toledo beat Mississippi State last week or whatever it is. I mean, Mac's got football players too. So I'm not sure those teams are as bad. You know, Western Michigan was beating Wisconsin in the fourth quarter, so I'm not sure those teams are as bad as some people want to portray. But you know, I'm really pleased with the offensive line depth, and as you pointed out rightly, the performance of the second team offensive line late in the game, that was unusual because it does not look like that. Usually when those guys go in, it's usually clown show city, and people just go out there and guys are running free, and man, and they look smooth. So I'm super impressed. Been hearing great things from the practice field, but it was great to see it in a real game, and I'm excited about the future on the O line for sure.
Yeah, and there's going to be a lot of opportunity next year because Donnie's going to be gone. There's a good chance we lose Josh Simmons, Josh Fryer, Seth McLaughlin. I mean, there's open opportunity next year. And again, I love that these guys are getting good reps and they're getting some burn early in the season. But like I said, I love the direction of the team. I love the direction of the O line. I know that we used to battle with people that are complete morons saying, how are we ever going to be able to field a team in 2025? And we're not going to have an offensive line in 2025. And who's going to play tackle in 2025? And I'd say, I don't care because we'll find people. And guess what? We got Josh Simmons, who's been excellent. He was great in the last game, and I can't wait to see how he looks this week. And Josh Schreier has been very workmanlike. He was all Big Ten last year. So again, magically, we figured it out. And what's going to happen next year? We're going to figure it out again, and we're going to be in really good shape. Ohio 7715, a.k.a. Devin, half of the Buckeye boys, along with Mello. Hope you're a good brother. Thank you for the 20. How smart is Sharon Moore for announcing the new starting quarterback early for USC 2024-2025 Natty Lock, Nevada OH? And these guys are going after us, the Buckeye boys, so make sure you go check them out on YouTube. They'll be live streaming after us. Nevada, I don't know. I think that what's your thought on announcing a quarterback early versus the coaches that do you'll find out first snap of the game? Because I think that in the era of information, it's really hard to keep, when Alex Orji's clearly going to be taking the first team reps in practice, it's hard to keep the fact that he's going to be the starter versus he under wraps. But I guess he could play and have the whole facade going. But I don't know. I'm fine with announcing him. Again, Davis Warren was so bad and they benched him. I don't think you have a choice but to announce him because it was the most obvious thing in the world. But what are your thoughts on that?
Well, look, I think anything that gives any information to the other side is probably not smart. So is it a big deal? No. But does it make any difference? Sure. If you're USC and now you're preparing for Alex Orji, you know exactly what you're going to get. And if there was any even seed of doubt that they were going to go with the other guy, but again, is it a big deal? No, probably not. But I think the bigger deal was the communication. Apparently there was a report coming out today that the Michigan players were asked about the quarterback switch, and they hadn't even been told that Sharon Moore hadn't announced that with them, and but he announced it with the media first. So I think there's major problems up there. I think they are on the precipice of just being in a disaster, and all it's going to take to it's like this giant, this a forest that hasn't had rain in 60 years, and it's all kindling and all stuff like that, and dried leaves and stuff. And all it's going to take is one little spark, and this whole thing's going to go up in flames. And the spark could be named Miller Moss, and they could be USC doing it. Because USC shut out Utah State 48. Now, Utah State's not bad. They played Utah tough. It was 38-21, but they shut them out 48-0 after beating LSU, and then they had a week off. So USC is legit. So this could be you could watch the whole thing burn this weekend, and I'll be there for it, man. But so answer the question, Rick, I wouldn't have announced it, but do I think it's a big deal? Probably not.
Well, I think it's interesting because I've lived the announcing or the changing of the guard or the benching of the player stuff. When we played, man, Tress and his guys were brutal, man. They had, I think Justin Zoic found out he got benched for Troy in 2005, on Tress's on his radio show or something, or at the press conference, or I don't think he ever got formally told that he was getting benched until Tress said it at the press conference or something. So that was bad. And then, when I took over for Tim Schaefer at right tackle for the Iowa game, like Jim Bowman said something to me, but then like it wasn't until like we went out to walkthrough and said, no, you're starting now. So get him out. So yeah, because like you do a walkthrough before every practice where it's like everyone lines up and you like walk through a bunch of plays and you go against the scout team defense. And he literally told Schaefer, like, take a hike, and then he told me to get in there. I was like, okay. And then like Doug Daddish, the Michigan game, 04, TJ was really starting to come on, TJ Downing. And he played some guard down the stretch versus Purdue at right guard, and Doug Dash wasn't playing well. And so, Doug had started every game leading into the Michigan game. And then Bowles, we get out to walk through, man, for the Michigan week. And I was a redshirt freshman, so I was already in there. Bowles tells Doug, you're benched. And he puts TJ in at left guard. And like, that's how we found out we were starting. Like, it wasn't like some sit down and, hey, I want to let you know that you're doing great, and I want to let you know we're promoting you. And then Doug comes in and says, it's like, no, they did it in front of the whole team. It was like, go out to walk through and say, all right, you're getting the hook ski, And I was like, God, I don't ever want to be that guy. So like, I never got benched. I wasn't planning on getting benched. The only time I ever got close to it, not benched, but in 05, I got hurt. I hurt my knee versus Penn State, tore my MCL, had a grade 3 MCL tear. So my knee was like gone. So I was out for like 3 or 4 weeks. I think it was like 4 weeks. I couldn't wait to get back. So anyways, I remember I was on a pitch count. I was going to play against Illinois, and I was going to play 10 plays. That was it. And I wasn't going to start. I was going to come off the bench, get 1 or 2 drives, and that was it, the build conditioning. And then like I felt good after that. And I was like, I'm ready to play. So then we're getting ready to play Northwestern. And that was the week before Michigan. So they wanted to ramp me up and get me like 20, 25 plays. So we're getting ready to play Northwestern, and we go like into the walkthrough, and I go up to start, and Bowles comes up to me and says, since you're on a pitch count, we're going to let Alex Boone start. And I didn't have a fit. I took it like a pro, but I was incredibly angry. And you can imagine, I really, really try not to swear on the show. But I'm telling you, I was hot. And it was funny because it was like my birthday weekend. So my mom came down, and she's got a room at the Blackwell, and she's all excited. And she my mom was kind of a fruit fly, and she literally called Jim Bowman and said, do you mind if I bring a cake down for my son for his birthday? And I'm like, when I found out I wasn't starting, I didn't want cake. I didn't even want it to be my birthday. I was like, I am so angry about everything right now. So then I went out there, and I was like a psychopath on the field during my 20 plays that I got to play. Then I got hooked. But we beat them like by 50 points that day. That was AJ Hawk's senior day and all those good seniors. And then we had to go up to Michigan that next week. But I was like, you are not going to not start me against Michigan. I will kill somebody. Because I was like the poltergeist. I was American Psycho. I was Norman Bates. I was all those guys. And I was like, I'm not going to start against Michigan. You're not going to do this stupid rotation because I'm playing every snap. Shoot the damn thing up. And we did. We shot it up because I had a broken foot and a tore up knee. I was like, I am not starting that game. You guys can keep me out against Northwestern and all the bookworms, but you're not going to not start me against Michigan. So, yeah, so needless to say, I went up there. I started. They shot it up, and I had a fifth of Crown in the bag and a cigar after we got that dub. So that was a good day. All right, Big Red Buck. Thank you for the 20. Hold on. That's gonna go on a t. That's gonna go on a t-shirt. It's gonna be hold on. It's gonna be Whoa Nelly.
I've got a tape. I've got a tape of your response to Jim Bowman there. When they told you weren't starting or something. So I'd like to play the tape for everybody. Okay, ready? Hold on. Let me get the tape. Click. Wah wah wah. Okay.
I thought it was gonna be like Gomer Pyle when he killed the guy in Full Metal Jacket or something. I wasn't crying. I was swearing. I mean, it was.
Kirk,
I wasn't crying, but
the tape does not lie. The tape does not lie, man. I'm just. I was very angry. What type of cake was it? What type of cake did your mom make?
I didn't even eat it. I was pissed. I don't want it. Well, I don't want no cake. You
don't have a favorite cake? Your mom didn't make you a favorite? What's your go-to cake? You don't have a go-to cake? Was it German chocolate?
Crown Royal. It's my go-to cake. I can't wait to have some. People were like, "Oh, Kirk's got a drinking problem." I was like, "Yeah." After I had broken foot, and I had a broken foot, and my painkiller wore off. Yeah, I needed a drink after that. That hurt. All right, Big Red Buck. Thank you for the 20. Thanks for the opportunity to know things that we would never know if Buckeye Scoop wasn't available.
Wow.
See, there's Nevadabuck. There's his nugget for the night. He said, "Wow," you know. I don't care. I was like, I ain't sitting in the suite. That was like that boring ass stuff. All right. I appreciate that, Big Red Buck. Again, we try to bring the inside stuff every single week because again, the media has never been more in the bag and more dishonest than it is right now, and it's hilarious when you listen to how out of the loop these people are. So we really work hard to give you guys what's really going on because again, we're not enslaved by the big machine like everybody else is, but. You know, it's worked out great because people, again, I've had credentialed media people tell me that they watch our show because our information is so good. So that's like, you want to talk about something that's kind of hilarious. Like, yeah, because we can't get any information out of Ohio State. So we got to listen to you guys because you guys actually get the information and you guys don't care because you're not enslaved by the big machine like everybody else is. So Nevada, Big Red Buck, thank you for the 20. Thanks for the opportunity to know things you'd never know if Buckeye Scoop wasn't available. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, Kirk, remember when you had a guy, and I'm not going to name the guy, but his name rhymes with Rank Rantoni, texts you after I texted that there was a starter out, and he texted you, said, "Hey, who's Nevada talking about? Who's out for the game?" I mean, guys, like we really do have good information, probably better information than a lot of people have there at the WAC. We know stuff before they do, but no, I didn't want to name anybody there, so that he will remain anonymous, and we'll do it. But is there any truth? Can you confirm or deny that story?
Yeah, it was literally a starting player, and he had no idea that he wasn't playing. And I was like, "How do you not? You're in the building and you don't know who's not playing this week." I was like, "Well, he's in surgery, so I don't think unless they take him off the cutting board and they roll him out there." But he absolutely did not play. So again, it's like, like some of those guys, they're just so they're so far past like working hard that they're just like, well, I guess I'll just sit in my office all day and scan the message boards instead of actually doing my job. So actually leaving my office and seeing what's going on, I was like, okay, well, the message board says they're not going to happen, so I can't walk down the hallway or walk down to the medical people and say, hey, what's going on? Who's out? So, but what do I know? All right. All right, David Myers, thank you for the 5. I saw on a Tennessee podcast that the Gamecocks athletic director Ray Tanner resigned because of a possible Stallions connection. Have you heard anything of that? I've not heard anything on that. Have you?
I have not heard that there's a connection to Stallions in any way. I mean, I'm that would be weird. But would I look? I will say right now, the best information that is being broke right now from the media is coming from the podcast world. It's coming from internet. It's coming from it's not coming from traditional media sources for all the reasons that you said. Everybody's in the bag. Everybody's got an agenda. If Pete Thamel gets a copy of the draft NOA from Michigan, it comes with the proviso that he has to come out and say that he doesn't think it's going to be a big deal or whatever. He doesn't think Michigan got an advantage or whatever it is. And that's how all the legacy media is. And so when stuff comes on the internet, I used to be quick to dismiss it. At least I pay attention. So I have not heard that there's any connection to that. Is that the craziest thought that I've ever heard? No, not the craziest thought. Could it be true? Sure. But we always tell you when we know, and if we don't know, we'll say we don't know. I don't know that there's a connection between those two. So, but we'll keep digging on that.
Yeah, we'll look in on that tonight, so it'll be interesting to see if anything else comes. Again, everyone's distancing themselves from Connor, man. He's coaching on some 0-3 terrible team that's given up like 250 points in 3 games or something crazy. So it ain't too hot for Connor. But again, when you sell your soul to the devil, man, it's tough. Super Nerd, thank you for the 10. How does the O-line communicate and adapt blocking schemes in real time to handle blitz packages and stunts? And what are some effective techniques or drills that help prepare for these challenges? That is a fantastic question. Obviously, I'm going to take this one, Nevada. So, in real time, in general, when you're working versus a blitz or a stunt, you have rules, so if it's a gap scheme, and you're down blocking, you have the B gap. Whatever runs through the B gap is what is yours. And again, when someone blitzes from somewhere, somebody goes elsewhere. So usually, you're filling up every gap. Someone's got the A gap, an A gap on both sides, B gap on both sides, whatever. So you basically just handle your rules, and if you know your rules on each play, and most of the rules aren't overly complicated in zone blocking and gap blocking, guys will literally just run into you. So it makes it super simple. It doesn't have to be, hieroglyphics. It's just something that, you build these mechanisms in where you can basically pick up anything as long as you know your rules. Now, again, can guys, blow assignments? Yeah, it happens. I watched Mekhi Becton last night play right guard for the Eagles and completely miss on one of the easiest twists I've ever seen in my life. And I was like, that guy's a National Football League player and he can't switch a twist, a very easy twist, and gives up a sack and gets Jalen Hurts killed. But again, that's just life in the big leagues. And what are some effective techniques or drills that help prepare for these challenges? Well, a lot of it is just stuff you have to walk through it a lot. You have to drill it a lot. You have to have the scout team guys, which are the backup guys. Usually like you'll have the scout team defense. Like this week, they'll all be wearing green Marshall jerseys, and they'll come over and they'll run their defense, and they'll run their blitzes and stunts that they like to do. And you gotta just follow your rules. And again, guys, that the more you play, the harder it is to get you on certain things. Like in some pass protections, you've got man-to-man. Sometimes you've got a certain gap if it's a slide protection. So that's it's a lot of walkthrough. It's a lot of experience. It's a lot of just knowing your plays, knowing the rules to your plays. Because the rules, they're not super advanced, super technical, super difficult. It's just something where, you got to rep it. And again, that's where when I worked with Urban and Ed Warner, and we had to turn the O-line around from being terrible in 2011 to really good in 2012, it was basically like I would beat those kids to death with the plays and make sure that they knew it. Because again, I wanted it to be so ingrained in them that when the stuff hit the fan, all of a sudden it was like everything was second nature. Because that's where you want to get to, is where everything's just reactionary. It's just you're not thinking about, well, it's okay, the protection is 55 protection. What's my role? It's like, no, you've got the C gap. We're sliding to the right, whatever, and your man side on the other side. So, I mean, again, once you learn everything, it's not that hard. And then you can react to basically anything. You can react to any blitz. There's basically no blitz in the history of mankind that hasn't been run. And then it's just, figuring out what teams like to do. So when you get into game week, you can figure, okay, what does Marshall like to do? How many down guys do they have? And by down guys, I mean, are they a 3 down, like a 3-4 team, a 3-3-5 team? Are they a nickel team that's 4 down? Again, I always laugh when people try to say that there's a 4-2-5 defense, because all that is nickel defense. Anyone with a brain just calls that nickel, because nickel literally means 5 defensive backs. That's why it's a nickel. Welcome to the big leagues, So, but yeah, it's just figuring out their front, who they like to blitz, and something that we would always look for is there a guy who is like the known blitzer on the defense? Is there a guy that they like to rush a lot? Like for Ohio State, for me, that would be Sonny Styles. Like Sonny Styles, I'd blitz him every time, let Cody Simon play coverage. Or if CJ Hicks is ever in the game, and again, I think his minutes are going to start to dwindle because I think Arvell is better than he is at this point. But if CJ's in the game, I'm counting on him blitzing, because that's what he's good at. If they try to have him do anything else, he's not very efficient at it. So I would count guys that are known rushers or whatever. And again, when you've got a 3 down front, it could be a lot more multiple. So again, I'm not going to get into all that. I should draw some of this stuff up for you guys. If you guys want me to draw up some of this stuff, just let me know, and put a Y in the chat, a yes. Because again, I don't want this to be overly technical, but basically there's very simple rules for pass protection and for run blocking. And you have to walk through a lot of this stuff to the point where everything's second nature. Switching twists are second nature. There's a lot of things that you can pick up from studying film, which I used to love studying film. I watch tons of film now. I don't even play. I don't even coach, but I just like to know what I'm talking about, so that when I'm talking to you guys can learn some football, but nothing crazy, but just enough that when you're at your friend's party, you'll be like, well, damn, I know way more because I listen to what we tell you. Because again, I want it to be easy and accurate, and like Nevada, do you have anything to add to that? I know that O-line communication, other than saying "wah," is not your forte, but do you have anything to add? Since you have
I
half
want
a
to know what
tree in
kind of.
Buckeye Grove.
I do have half. And I don't have a tree. I have like a branch. We've agreed that it was a branch of the
Uh,
tree, but I'm okay with that. But I want to know what type of cake your mom got you. Like, was it like
I don't
you don't?
know.
I
It
can't.
was.
You don't have. You don't have a
It,
favorite cake. Your mom didn't make like every year was like a particular cake, or was like it was just random.
yeah, I honestly I don't remember if she bought it or if she made it. You know, again, I'm not a huge cake guy. I mean, I like steak. I don't really like cake. I mean, it's okay. It's fine, whatever. You know, I mean, the kids get cake. We had cake for one of their birthdays recently, and it was
What about
fine.
pie? You like pie? Do you like pie?
No, don't like pie.
Really? You don't like pie or cake? Really? Do you like
I
sweets in
mean,
general? Do you like cookies and stuff like that?
I mean, they're fine. I mean, Kim knows. I'll eat like when she makes good cookies. I'll eat about 35 of them a sitting. So it's like she knows. Like
Yeah. Okay.
she's a good cook, so that helps. But like if
Well,
they're
yeah.
if they're not good, then they're not good. I mean, like like at STK, like when they bring out those donuts, like I'll eat some of those. Now I'm not gonna eat all the stuff they bring when they bring out 65 desserts and 700 different appetizers. Like I'm not gonna eat all that, but
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know,
Been there, done that.
Pinder said, "Stop, please,
Oh,
no more.
please stop, no more.
I want to have a buzz later. Thank you." All
Oh
right.
God, yeah, exactly.
Oh my God. What is this screen name? What are we doing? Ryan Day's Botox. I thought we were gonna get Ryan Day's Ozempic too. I was like, oh my God, he got the whole clinic going on the way he is now. Haven't heard confidence in title vacation recently. I mean, I don't know. We're not the NCAA. We don't get to pull. I don't know how you can vacate all those wins and keep the title. So you're going to vacate like the 7 or 8 games that Connor Stalions on the staff last year, but then you're not going to vacate the title. So they're going to go 4-0 with and be national champions. Like that doesn't seem to make any sense to me. Now again, I could be crazy and that could happen. But I mean, I just read the tea leaves. If they're going to vacate 1 season, 2 seasons, and then 7 games of the third season, how do they keep the title? Were they the 4-0 national champions? Like that seems beyond stupid. But that's just me. What are your thoughts, Nevada?
Yeah, I mean, look, you're not taking any lack of confidence from me. I just nobody knows for sure what's going to happen. All we can look at is precedent, and we can look at what the NCAA is asking for. The NCAA is asking for it's not for vacation. They're asking for vacation of the wins, and they're not going to recognize the title. So then it's going to be up to the College Football Playoff Committee and the Big Ten about the Big Ten titles and the College Football Playoff Championship. But Michigan's sole thing is to try to protect the championship. That's their sole objective is they don't care about 21, they don't care about 22, they don't care about forfeits, they don't care about vacations, they don't care about Big Ten titles, they don't care about recruiting restrictions, they don't care about Sharon Moore, Jim Harbaugh, Jesse Minter, Clinkscale Stallions. Nothing matters other than that 23 championship, and they still can't get a guarantee from the NCAA. So that's why we're going through this right now. So that should tell you the situation that Michigan's in. That's the conundrum that they because if they had a settlement that included them keeping the 23 championship, they would have already signed it. The deal would already be done because that's all they care about. So, look, you're not hearing any lack of confidence from me. There's lack of knowledge because Kirk can't predict the future. Or I should say, we can predict the future. We can't ensure the future. But Michigan wants to save the 23 title. The NCAA is not of a mind to give that to them, and so that's why we're going through this entire. That's why they're one of 2 out of 100 cases before the NCAA that are going the full Monty. So if you're a Michigan fan, that's where you're at. And the other case of the two was your cheeseburger case, where your coach got 500% more penalties than what you recommended to the NCAA. So if I'm a Michigan fan, I am not feeling good about how this is trending. Um, I've always thought the title vacation was a long shot. I do not believe that title vacation is a long shot now. Based on what I know, I think it's certainly a better than 50-50 chance that it happens. I would say probably closer to 70, 80% it happens.
Well, I'm like you. Like I don't know how. Like if I'm, the athletic director at Michigan and they say, okay, here's the deal. Vacate 1 year, vacate 2 years, vacate 7 games, year 3, $1 million fine, bowl ban, scholarship reductions, but you keep the natty. I would run to the thing and sign it. I'd say, all right, let's go. We'll take it on, but we've got our national championship for the rest of time. I would do that in a heartbeat if I could keep the national championship. To say, okay, we won the natty, we were 4-0, won the natty, but so again, I don't think that's on the table. Because again, like, what would you take that, Nevada? Say 2-year bowl ban, scholarship reductions, $1 million fine, wipe out the other 2 seasons and 7 games of that season, but you keep the natty.
I would do that in 5 seconds.
5 seconds, easily.
Yeah, easily.
Yeah.
Especially in a year where I'm looking at this team right now and kind of going, well, we're not going back to back. So I'm not giving up. You're really not giving up much in that situation. You're giving up 21 and 22 and okay and this, that, but you'll kick and you'll scream and you'll say this and that. But that's not where they're at. That offer's not on the table. And if they're going to go all the way to the mats on this, schools they have not done well doing that. And you have to understand the profound change in the way that the NCAA used to adjudicate this. They used to have a separate committee that would do this, that was like the appeals committee that you could go to on these large penalties. And they've disbanded that. That does not exist anymore. So hey, let's do this and let's throw ourselves on the mercy of the bleeding hearts and they'll cut us a break. That group does not exist anymore. So Michigan, I mean, I'm telling you, it's a new day, and that's why this thing continues to go on, because Michigan can't. The NCAA is not offering what the Michigan is so desirous of, which is protecting that 2023 national championship. So don't take anything I'm saying as a lack of confidence. If anything, my confidence is increasing in that happening.
Well, yeah, and like they haven't been close to winning a natty since '97, so it's like, they're going to do everything they can to hold on to this one. So, I mean, like I said, if there was any scenario, I mean, you could give me a $5 million fine, 3-year bowl ban, take my scholarships, basically reset my program. But if I keep the natty, that's something you can hang your hat on. But it's like, the NCAA hasn't been shy about stripping them of basically everything. They lost the Final Four banners from the Fab Five. And so, again, like with what Jim Harbaugh has done, and I've said this 800,000 times at this point, the way that these guys are acting towards the NCAA after Jim Harbaugh got a 1-year suspension is completely insane. Again, I would be begging for mercy at this point. But again, they don't get that because they're stupid. So this kind of is where it is. David Myers, again, thank you for the super chat, and thank you for adding this little bit of color to this. Thank you for the 10, my friend. Nevada, this is in regards to the Tennessee podcast that said the Gamecocks athletic director, Ray Tanner, resigned because of a possible Stallions connection. This is what was said on the podcast. He said that Connor Stallions reached out to South Carolina and gave him the signals for Tennessee and Clemson because they were potential playoff opponents. SC won both games at the end of the season. That is very interesting. And I haven't heard that. I haven't seen that. I don't doubt it if that's what's being said. But, yeah. I mean, I again, Connor could give out the signals and maybe try to dodge those guys, or I don't know what his game plan would be to do that, or how he benefits from it. But, what are your thoughts, Nevada?
Well, what I'll say is the resignation. His resignation was really weird. Timing was weird. Announcement was weird. Everything about it was weird. But I don't know why it was weird. But things follow a thing. We talked about last night the disappearance of Mike Hart. How Mike Hart all of a sudden goes into witness protection and is off the grid. And we're like, stuff in life generally follows a certain tempo. And when things kind of deviate from that, you notice. And I will say that his resignation was weird, but if that's a connection to Stallions, I don't have any words. I mean, we've talked about this being the biggest scandal in the history of college football. I mean, now you're talking about it's involved 58 different instances of advanced scouting. It's involved Michigan, every one of Michigan's opponents in the Big Ten, Central Michigan, and now potentially teams in other schools. If that's true, that's an absolute bombshell. Have not heard that, but and I don't want to bury the lead, and I don't want to get off to it, but there's another story with Connor Stallions that I've always I haven't poo-pooed the story because I just haven't really got, but the whole Blake Corum LLC thing, I've always thought was kind of a dry well. I wasn't sure what was going to come of that. I'm not sure that's a dry well. I think that there's something there, and that one, if we can come up with the evidence on that one, which I think we can, that is an automatic they lost the thing because Blake Corum is immediately that's an ineligible player situation at that point.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's pretty clear that's what was going on. But I've always downplayed that one. I've never bid on that. When people ask me about that, I'm like, yeah, I'm not sure there's something there. I think there's something there. That's one. Absolutely keep an eye on that one. I think that one could bear fruit as well. But I'll be keeping an eye on this USC thing because that was definitely a weird resignation. And if it has a Stallions connection, man, that's crazy.
Yeah, and like I've said 1,000 times, like I worked for Urban, obviously. I couldn't imagine his reaction if I would have said, hey, I'm going to start an LLC with Braxton Miller and we're going to sell stuff or whatever. I mean, I remember like Braxton, he did like some stupid Advocare thing, and it was like hellfire and brimstone in the Woody Hayes because he was promoting Advocare, and this is pre-NIL, obviously. So, if he uses his name, image, and likeness to sell vitamins, then he could be declared ineligible. But he was doing it with some guy, and it was just like I was like, oh my god, this is gonna be a disaster. It's gonna be great. We're gonna lose Braxton because he was selling overpriced vitamins and scamming people on a pyramid scheme. This will be awesome. So, if you wanted to go pitch, hey, me and Braxton are gonna go sell used vacuums. I mean, it would be even in the NIL era. Like, I just, you shouldn't be Urban. And again, people say whatever they want about Urban. Urban had he had a code for his coaches that I thought was excellent, where he said, he doesn't want the coaches to be friends with the players. He's like, you got a lot of friends. You're not friends with the players. You're their coach. So that also means like you're not going to go start some scam business where you're selling old broken down vacuums on Amazon. Because again, like I said, I've said this so many times, like Connor Stallions probably sitting in his underwear 3 a.m. on YouTube looking at how to make a quick buck. What are industries where I can make a quick buck? I'm scraping by and I need money to send my mom to the Rutgers, Illinois game. So what can I do? I'm going to sell refurbished vacuums from China on Amazon. I'm going to drop sell them. Whatever. And I'm just like, how can I make this more official? Oh, you know what? Let me go to Blake. Hey, Blake, I'll give you $2,000 cash, or I'll give you 75% of the profits every single month. You don't have to do anything. I just want to use your name. Yeah, bro, that'd be great, man. Free $3-4 grand every month. Whatever the number is. Because again, I don't even know who would buy a used vacuum. It seems like vacuums aren't really that expensive. So why would you buy a used one that's got someone else's crap all in it? But Connor was selling them because again, he lives in Never Never Land. And again, the thing about that Netflix thing is when you see his parents, it's like Norman Bates. It's like he's got mother and father, and it's like the perfect match for the Psycho series from Alfred Hitchcock. So, all right, Nevada, we can boogie on out of here. Any final thoughts?
No, just looking forward to so much that you forget how much you miss college football, and even though we had a week of other games, when Ohio State's not playing, it makes me sad, and when they're playing, it gives me something to really look forward to. So I'm really excited. I know it's Marshall. I know I shouldn't be that excited, but I'm excited to see the Buckeyes get back on the field. This team is such a treat, and I can't wait for Saturday. I can't wait to see Donnie Jackson playing, and the fully operational Death Star offensive line working on Saturday. Let's go get them.
Yeah, I think it's going to be really exciting. All right, I appreciate you guys kicking it with us. As always, if you guys enjoy this content, please leave us a like, click subscribe. Also, click that little alert bell. Again, happy Tuesday. I hope you guys had a great day today. We are going to be back at 7 again tomorrow, rolling into the work week. Again, this is a huge week for Ohio State to get back on the grind, get this next dub, and get rolling into Big Ten season the right way. Got a lot of momentum around the program. The guys are healthy. It's a really exciting time for the Bucks. If you guys enjoy this content, please leave us a like, click subscribe. Also, click that little alert bell and get an alert just in case we ever do happen to go early which we will be trying to figure out our schedule on Saturday. We'll do a post-game show. Not sure when, but likely right after the game. We've been doing that, and you guys have really enjoyed it. So if you guys want to do something awesome for us, again, we've been pounding the drum about Apple Podcasts. If you guys could subscribe to us, it'd be huge. Search Buckeye Scoop, click subscribe. It is absolutely a game changer for us that you guys are doing that. Also do that on Spotify. Both are free. Both take you about 15 seconds, and it is a humongous help to Buckeye Scoop. And it's a way you could show your support for us for absolutely free. So again, I appreciate you guys so very much. This is a huge show because you guys make it one. We never forget that. So make sure you guys shout out where you guys are watching from in the comments. Shout out who you guys are watching with in the comments. I read all the comments. I love the comments, and I appreciate you guys. That being said, thank you so much, Buckeye Nation. And thank you, Scoop family. We will talk to you guys tomorrow at 7 p.m. You guys have a great night. Go Bucks.